on that stage in the mall in Washington, D.C. I looked out across the crowd. I could hear and see America. I could hear and see a new nation emerging. It's being called forward. We call it forward now. We ask ourselves what kind of a world we wish to create. When I read this morning's paper, I saw our president say that he decides, and I might say that this is a democracy, and in a democracy the people are sovereign, and then we decide, that we decide. And the Congress also decides.
Yeah.
I think that it would be helpful if the President did read the Constitution. I think that he could be enlightened to understand that Congress, as we know Barbara Lee, is a co-equal branch of government. That Congress has a responsibility to stand up for the American people. I grew up in the city of Cleveland. Many of you know that. Great place. This is like being back home, being in San Francisco. But I will tell you that I grew up in Cleveland. It's a very culturally diverse area. People have been very generous with me, giving me a great political career. But many of you may not be aware, but when I grew up in Cleveland, I grew up as the oldest of a family of 7 children. My parents never owned a home. They were renters. And so as the family kept growing, some of you know the story, the more people you have in the family and you rent, you go from one place to another. And as the family expands, the options become limited. So by the time I was 17, we lived in 21 different places, including a couple cars. Now that's before living in cars became fashionable. But I point that out for this reason. When you grow up in the inner city, you learn to get a sense of balance about things, and you learn when somebody is trying to hustle you. I mean, really, you really do. And it was a great experience, great leveling experience. And so I'm listening to the debate that's going on in Washington. You know, this is the same, it's my experience in Cleveland, actually, growing up, that empowered me to look 5 years ago at this build-up to war, to give a speech called The Prayer for America that identified, you may have seen it, 5 years ago, that identified what was going on, and to say, you know, the media's beating the drums, the president's beating the drums, some prominent members of Congress are beating the drums, and they're saying, oh, we got to go to war against Iraq, and I said, whoa, wait a minute. What did Iraq have to do with 9/11? Oh, well, you know, Iraq, 9/11, there's 9/11, there's Iraq. No, what did they have to do with it? They couldn't answer the question. Now, it's that growing up in Cleveland, that kind of a leveling experience that enabled me to just ask the kind of questions that any of you would ask. And so I said, connect Iraq and Al-Qaeda. Oh, well, Iraq, Al-Qaeda, they're right there, right? Well, where's the proof? What do you have? Weapons of mass destruction. Okay, let me see the reports. Let me see the intelligence. Boy, is that a word that's been overruled? And I said, give me the proof. But you know what? They never produced a scintilla of evidence. Now, people were saying, my God, I was lied to. These are people who want to run our country,